Hello, friends. My name is Deepak. I'm with my Wealth Guards, and with me is a very famous certified public accountant, Sanjeev Gupta CPA. His website is sanjeevcpa.com, and my website is mywealthguards.com. I specialize in life insurance retirement plans, so if you're looking for that, you can reach out to me. If you have a tax question, then Sanjeev is a wonderful resource. I have been working together with him for over last 20 years, and every time somebody asks me a question, guess what? I reach out to him to get that answer back to you. Now, how can you reach out to me or Sanjeev? Very simple. Go to my website, mywealthguards.com, and from there you can connect to me via WhatsApp. I will be your primary resource to get all of your questions answered. But if you want to get a one-on-one personal consultation with Sanjeev ji, then best thing to do is go directly to his website, which is sanjeevcpa.com, and click on consultation button, and their staff will reach out to you and set up that consultation appointment with you. Now, in today's video, I want to talk to all the students in the United States. So if you are in India and planning to come to the United States, especially to the state of California, because we have a lot of students come here. So a lot of students have asked me questions over the years, and I kind of compiled all those questions here to ask Sanjeev ji today. So hopefully, if you're already in the U.S. and you're going to a college or university, or you're planning to come to the U.S., joining a university or college, I'm going to try to answer some of the questions related to tax implications that you might be dealing with. So hopefully you'll find this video helpful, but I understand that I might not cover all the questions that you might have in mind. And if I miss something, just leave me in the comment and I'll try to get those questions answered in the next video. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And if possible, please share it with everybody. We also have a wonderful Facebook page. You can connect us there. And then we do a lot of live events. So if you are in the great state of California, please come to those events and you get to meet with me. You get to meet with Sanjeev ji, and hopefully we can build a lifelong friendship. All right, so that's enough about chit chat. Let's get to the main stuff. So Sanjeev ji, one of the questions is, when a student come to the United States, what is their immigration status?
Very good question. So when a student comes from India or any other country, they have to first maintain. They have to start looking for the residence. Can be a rental apartment, can be shared apartment. It can be anywhere.
Yeah, they're going to live somewhere.
Somewhere. But the important thing why I'm putting a stress or putting more emphasis on this one is because the state determines. So there are two taxes. We have federal and a state. So state tax will determine where they live in. So if they come to California, let's say they came to California, the California is a heavily taxed state. So definitely the California has their own regulations, regulation on the residency requirements. So if a student comes from India and comes to California and stay here for more than 3 months, as per the California FTB rules and regulations, they become a resident of California state.
3 months.
3 months or more.
Not 6 months, 3 months.
Yes. So they become a California resident. Now, the federal definition of this applies. We have a substantial presence test requirements, which says that under the substantial presence test requirement, it says that if you are staying here more than 6 months, you become a resident for tax purposes. If you stay less than 6 months, then you have to look at prior 2 years and find out whether you're staying in those 2 years more than the last year it is 120 days, last year it is 150 days. So we compute whether your stay is more than 6 months in 1 year, or 31 days in the current year, and prior years 120 days in prior 2 years. So if you fulfill those requirements, you become a resident for the tax purposes. Once you become a resident for tax purposes, all the foreign reporting requirements becomes applicable to you. If you're not resident, if you don't qualify for that one, if you're not a resident, then you don't have to report the foreign income. Of course, you have to pay taxes on the income that you earn in US source income, plus the state, like I said, state income tax on the US source income. Another important thing that happens is there's certain exclusion given for certain categories. What are those categories? Student visa, F1 visa. F1 visa, L visa, J visa, O visa, those people are considered non-resident for 5 years. So once you come over here and you're in student category, you're on F1 visa, for 5 years you're considered non-resident, even though you still fulfill the substantial present test requirement, but still because you're in that visa status, you still remain non-resident for 5 years. That means you don't have to report the foreign income, And in certain cases, and most cases I've seen, you don't have to pay Social Security and Medicare tax unless you take an OPT and other things. That is a different scenario. But again, that's what happens with the immigration status when it comes to US taxes.
So that's the first important thing you want to determine, right? What your immigration status is going to be, which state you're going to be coming to. Those are the first things that you should be paying attention to.
And
Now,
which visa they are.
and which visa. Sanjeev ji said in the very beginning about the California being a very heavy tax state, but don't let that be the reason for not coming to California. By the way, California has a lot of advantages. So there's a reason why it's expensive state, and I mean there are a lot of great things going on. That's why we call it the great state of California.
We call it a golden state.
Yes, so please don't let that be reason to kind of weed out California. You will love the weather here. You will love the universities here. In matter of fact, I think this is the best state, in my opinion, for learning because there's just so much opportunity here. Just want to add that there, just in case that you're thinking like, oh, maybe I should go to New York or Texas or for that matter somewhere else. Okay, next question, Sanjeev ji. Are there any tax treaties between the United States and India? Because obviously a lot of people watching this video are probably coming from India or already here from India. So is there like a tax treaty? And if it is, how does that work?
So double tax avoidance treaty, double tax avoidance agreement is been signed between India and the US. Is when the FATCA came in 2000, I believe in 2015. So when the FATCA was Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act was passed, and a lot of international governments signed agreement with the US with IRS, and India was also a signatory to one of them. So with the direct tax avoidance agreement, what happens is if you're making income from one country, but you're a resident of another country, of course you have to pay taxes. The first you have to pay tax to the country from where the income is generated. But since the other country also requires you to declare that income on their country's tax returns, you get a credit. You get a credit on that income because you don't want to. That's why double tax avoidance treaty is there. So we use a form 1116 in the US to determine the credit. If you are in India and you are a US citizen going to India, working in India, and you have income from US also, and you have to pay tax on that US, the same way you have to declare in India on that source income, and you have to add that income to your India source income, and then you get a credit. So the direct tax avoidance agreement is a very important agreement between two countries, US and India. Remember, there's a lot of information being shared among those countries. All the signatories to the DTA, and India being a signatory, a lot of information being shared. We have the very latest case of Mr. Puri in August, which happened in August 2022 case. If you Google it, you will find it. So, wherein the Indian tax authorities gave a summon to the Citibank to disclose this guy as this Puri's wealth in the US, not in India, and that's why they sued the government and sued the Citibank. But that's how the outcome came out, saying that since there is an agreement between two countries, they can share information, and that's why we have to be careful about reporting the foreign income and foreign assets properly.
Now, I know some of you guys who are probably new or maybe just planning on coming to the United States, you might not be aware of what Sanjeev ji is talking about. So we have several video on that topic, which is basically foreign income reporting requirements. So you might want to check that out separately. Now, Sanjeev ji, continuing on to that. So a lot of time when kids come to the United States, many of them are super intelligent. Indian brain after all, they're great, they're smart. So they obviously get scholarships or perhaps even fellowships at universities. So is that kind of income also taxable in the United States?
So the scholarship is a way of getting concession on the educational expenses, and is based upon your grading and scoring and whatnot. So if you're a brilliant student, the university likes you very much, they will give you a scholarship, or we call it a grant, from the education expenses. So if you receive a 1098T form and there's a box that says scholarship and there's amount there, it's not subject to taxes, it's tax free for you because that's earned by you based on your qualifications. So there's no need for reporting that as income.
Now, once you come in the US and you start working, whatever job you take, obviously you're going to pay taxes on it. And I want to just kind of clarify. So in the United States, we have federal tax system where you pay federal taxes. Then you have state taxes, as what Sanjeevji was mentioning earlier. For example, the state of California has a state tax, but there are some states in the United States that don't have any state tax, so you don't pay state taxes there. But at least here in the California, you pay state taxes. But in addition to that, we also have what we call Social Security, that is kind of like a government retirement plan. We have a separate video on that one if you want to learn a little bit more about that. And then we have Medicare taxes. So this is two additional payments you'll be talking. So Sanjeevji, can you tell them a little bit about, just a brief introduction to this Social Security and medical tax as well?
Like like you rightly said, Social Security is like a pension plan for people who are retiring in the U.S. So they get the government, the state government, the state government and the federal government gives concession, gives money as a pension to people who have been U.S. citizens and contributed to the Social Security when they were working, because a portion of their income is subject to Social Security taxes. 6.2% of their W2 income. W2 is like a Form 16, like a W2 is a salary summary of an employee. So the 6.4% of their
Wages.
their wages will be subject to Social Security. So they pay that every year. They pay it, and it goes to the Social Security Administration, and Social Security Administration takes that money and give that money to people who are retiring. Earlier, it was 8 people working and 2 people retiring. In today's scenario, it's 1 person working and 1 person retiring. So it's becoming very tight Social Security benefits. As moving forward, in 5 to 10 years from now, it will be difficult to get even 75% of what you contributed, but that's a different story. But now, so Social Security is definitely a part of your wages you pay every year and you collect it when you retire. Medicare is something you pay as part of the medical expenses. Medicare provided by the county, by the state, by the federal government. It depends upon. So you contribute also. Medicare tax is levied on all wages. There's no limit on that one. It's 1.45% of your gross wages and 6.45% of your is the Social Security base. Now there is a base for Social Security. It means you don't have to pay if you're making 200K. You don't have to pay the Social Security on 200K. You're paying up to, like, every year it's indexed to inflation. This year is 137,000. They're looking to increase it more. So that's how it works out.
Now, Sanjeevji, my main purpose of asking this question is because a lot of people who are watching this video, they're students, perhaps first time coming to the United States. More than likely, they're going to go back to India unless they find something here. So they still have to pay Social Security and Medicare, right?
If they are on F1 visa, they don't contribute to Social Security. There's no Social Security and Medicare. But if they are under visas, they have OPT and other things. Then it's different story. Then definitely they contribute to Social Security. And a lot of people do ask this question: hey, if I'm planning to go back to India, I contributed so much to Social Security Medicare. Can I get that refund? The answer is no. It's meant only and only for US green card. US green card to a certain extent. US citizen to the mostly to US citizen. So not for non-US citizen or non-US green card holders.
So once again, what kind of visa what Sanjeevji started out with is very important to determine, right? Because if you're on a different kind of visa and you still take education courses right here and you have some income and whatnot, then chances are you will end up paying those Social Security and Medicare taxes. So just be aware of that. We already talked about state taxes, so I'm not going to go into that because they're just such a wide area. Each state have a different taxation system, how they tax it. But to simplify it, it's always based on your federal taxable income. So whatever that income is, based on that, different states determine what percentage of tax they will charge. Some are as low as 0. So there is that. What kind of tax credits or deductions a student, especially the international student, might qualify for?
So it's a very good question. So the student that they come in, they are going to file as single, of course, is a non-resident. I'm thinking of an F1 visa. So when the student comes on F1 visa, he's filing as in 1040 NR. That's a form that we use for non-residents, and they get a standard deduction of $12,000 against their income. And then if they have other credits, being a single, you don't have other mostly credits. But yes, that's 12,000 will be standard deduction for them in most cases. Now, if they do a business or something, that of course they can take advantage of the other deductions. But if they are just working on W2 and coming here on on F1 visa, they get a standard deduction of $12,000.
All right. Now, I think this one is probably the most important question, Sanjeev, especially for people who are new to United States. Um, and I say that because when you're new, you don't know a lot of regulations. You don't know how the system works. So you end up making a lot of mistakes, right? What would you suggest to somebody new that how can they stay compliant and basically do all the right things?
See, the thing is, if they don't know what they don't know, it's very difficult to find out. It's always better, and this is very important to understand. When a student comes from India, they are so much engaged, they are so much into their work status and so much engrossed in their immigration status that they don't even know what is their tax implications are. So it's important when a parent send his first when a parent send their kid as a student, the parent should also try to get the information about the taxability. But like I said, we are federal and the state, and so they need to understand that and teach the student about the taxes. And when the student comes here, they can connect with a CPA, they can connect with a tax professional, get the advice, right advice, that will help them a lot in moving forward.
Yeah, and by the way, just those of you guys who are new, you can go to a tax professional and actually do what we call tax consulting appointments. So you don't have to choose them to do your tax returns. You just go there just to get your questions answered. Obviously, I'm your one of resource. You can always reach out to me, and I can, obviously, I don't get back to each individual person for tax questions, but I can ask questions to Sanjeevji and bring a video to you, so that way that can answer. But I think the main point I'm trying to say is don't only worry about taxes when you have to file taxes. Set up that consultation appointment, get your questions answered. I think that can help you stay relevant and avoid all kind of troubles. In United States, and Sanjeevji and I talk about it, especially when at the live events a lot, is a lot of people get bombarded with late notices, with penalties, with compliances. It's so much extra money you can waste here.
Yeah, because see, the thing is, they are institutions, IRS, FTP. They have people, they have employees, they have cost, and so here in this country, they don't just start sending notices. They make sure they want to make money, so they make it delayed so that they can charge the interest and penalty on that one. So that's where they make the money the most. So it's important to avoid that interest and penalty and pay the right taxes. It's important that we get the right education, tax education, also to the student coming over from India.
Yeah, and by the way, and this just kind of came to my mind. If you are coming to the United States, right, as a student or whatnot, one of the great tip I can also give you is consider getting a life insurance, because even if you're planning to go back to India, you'll be surprised that here life insurance is relatively cheaper when you're in the United States compared to while you're in India, and the benefit amount is huge. So you might want to check that as well out. I think you'll find a lot of value there. Now, Sanjeevji.
So before we go there, I have a question. I just want to make a point here for life insurance. So a lot of people, when they come over from there as a student, they have a life insurance policy in India because their parents might have done it.
Yeah, like LIC, very popular
But
there.
the problem with that policy is you're not telling the agency, the people who are doing that insurance for you, the insurer, that you're going outside.
True.
You're traveling outside. So you're violating the condition of the payment. If something happens, goes wrong, you're violating the norms, the condition laid down in the policies. And if something happens to you while you're here, that policy, they will not honor that commitment. So it's important to understand this, and this is very important for all the people, all those who are listening to us or seeing us. If you have a life insurance policy in India and you're traveling abroad, you have to communicate to the agency that you're going to travel abroad. Is there something I should do or inform, or is my policy will lapse, or what is going to happen? So that's important. Number two, when you come over here, take the policy where you're residing. Reason for that again is the same. You want to get, why you're taking insurance policy? You're taking insurance policy as a backup plan if something goes wrong. So you need to make sure that the backup plan is a backup plan, not just an imaginary visualized backup plan. So you have to take that policy in the state in the country in which you are residing, so that you get those benefits as well.
Yeah, and Sanjeevji, lastly, would you offer any kind of specific tips, strategies to students?
See, first thing is when you come from there, you should always start looking at building your credit history.
Good one.
So how to build that credit history?
I think that's a video on its own, Sanjeevji. 'Cause I think we could talk for another 30 minutes just on that subject. But
So
give
just a
some tips.
snapshot, just a few tips here. So when you come over here, getting money from India from parents is not going to build your credit history. And you want to buy a car, you want to buy a home, you want to do traveling abroad, you want to use use a
Perhaps
car.
even convert into a resident one day, you know.
One day. So building the credit history is very important here. So how to build that history? Like I said, we can take a lot of time, but just to give a snapshot. So first thing is when you come over here, open a bank account, put some money in that account. Let's say maybe 10th of 2,000 or 3,000 or 1,000, whatever you put the money. Take a secured card for that money. Take a secured card. So the bank will not issue a card to you because you're a non-resident. You come on F1 visa. But if you put money into it and then take a credit card based on that one, money that you put in, that's become a secured card. Based on that secured card, you can go ahead and start using that for groceries and other things and pay it off within a month, within a month of the due date. Don't wait till the due date. I will suggest if you do a grocery or do something, use the card, next day you can pay it off. So you build a history for 6 months or more. Once you build a history for 6 months or more, then you can request for another card if possible, or you can look for buying a car, taking a car on a lease. So if you take a car on lease, that's also a history building up, credit history building up. Or if you buy a car on installment, of course, in 1 to 2 years you will not be able to do that. But in case you need a car to drive, so maybe you can look for a kind of a person who can do a guarantee or on that loan. Maybe a parent can do from India if these people are, or if you have a relative here or friend here who can do a conditional guarantee or something like that on that loan, then you are in the business now. Now you make those payments, the card payments on time, go for 2 years, and then your credit history is building up.
Yep. And other thing I can offer you also is when you're planning on coming here, also talk to your university or whatever college you're planning to go to. Most of them also offer health insurance. So take care of that before you come here because health care expenses are huge here. One simple fracture can cost you a lot of money. So don't ignore that aspect as well. I think the cheapest way to just talk to your university, I'm sure they will have great options.
People, when they come from India, they always think if you don't have any medical insurance, you can go to any hospital and just say I'm non-resident, I don't even know anybody, and they have to take you in. Those days are gone. Of course, they still take those people in, but they still want somebody responsible to vouch for you. So that person will be on the hook, whoever watches for you. So now they are coming into that system. They're making a system where it will not be that easy to go to any hospital or emergency situation get treatment because the US is losing a lot of money. There's billions of dollars, trillions of dollars being lost here. So that's just be aware of that.
Yeah, and the third thing I want to remind people also in United States is really good with giving out a lot of scholarships. So look for opportunities like we talked about earlier for scholarships and fellowships. Look for those opportunities. I think you can find a lot of advantage there. So that's all the questions I had for today for students. But if I missed something, please leave it in the comment and I'll try to get those answered for you. Once again, as a reminder, if you want to talk to Sanjeevji or book a consultation appointment, go to his website directly. It's sanjivcpa.com, SANJIVCPA.com, and I'll leave the link here in the comments of the website of the video as well. If you want to talk to me, want to talk to me on WhatsApp, have a question you want me to ask to Sanjeevji, or you have a question about life insurance, or you just need a friend to talk to, you can reach out to me. My website is mywealthguards.com, and there's a WhatsApp link. You can connect me via WhatsApp from there. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it, your time that you stick around with us for that long. There are plenty of other videos about other subject matters, so browse around, and if there's anything we can do to help you, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.